For number 7, we're making truth tables for these propositional forms. Now I've gone ahead and I've put in P, Q, not P, and not Q, because that's something that we know how to do very easily. And then let us fill in. So to do these, so for example, for A, I'm going to have to create this auxiliary statement just so that it's easier and I don't have to do it all at once, because then that way it's easy to make mistakes, right? So let's just fill in Q and P, which is a conjunction. So true here, because P and Q are both true. And then we have true and false, so that is false. And then false and true, so that is false. And lastly, false, false, false. Okay, so now we're ready to take P implies Q and P. So what we're doing is, it is a conditional between the first column, between P and the fifth column, right? P implies Q and P. So let's do that. So for the first row, we have true, and therefore this conditional is true. And then we have true and false. So this is false because the promise was broken, right? And then we have false and false. So if the antecedent is false, the conditional will always be true. And therefore we have true. And then lastly, in the same line, the fourth line, we have the same situation. So that is true. So we are done with A. Let's put a little check mark here. Now, we do have to construct these other auxiliary statements so that we can do item B. So let's do not P implies Q, and that not P is the third column implies Q, which implies the second, right? So let us do that. So we have not P is false, Q is true. So once more, antecedent is false, and therefore this must be true. False, false, same situation, right? True, true, so true. And lastly, we have not P is true and Q is false. So this is the only scenario where the promise was broken, and therefore this is false. Now let's do the biconditional of Q and P. So the biconditional is true when P and Q have the same truth values, right? So when they're either both true or both false. So we have here true, true, and therefore true. And then we have, for the second and third line, we have a mix of true and false. So that is false. And for the fourth line, we have that both their truth values are the same. They're both false. So now this will be true. Now we're ready to construct item B. So item B, we're taking a conjunction of this column over here, which is, let's see, sixth column, and a conjunction of the seventh column. So we're doing not P implies Q, and Q if and only if P. So and it's actually disjunction. I don't know if I said conjunction. So let's do that disjunction. So true or true is true, true or false is true, true or false is true, and false or true is true. So for item B, we have a tautology here because all the items are true. So let's just put a little check mark that we did B. Now let's do C. So for C, we're having not Q. So we're having this column over here implies Q if and only if P. So the second column, the fourth column implies the seventh column. So let's do that. So our antecedent is not Q, and we begin with our antecedent being false, and therefore this conditional statement is true. And then we have, let's see, true, true, right? So this is true. And then we have if not Q is false, then once more the antecedent is true. The antecedent is false, so the conditional is true. And then lastly we have, let's see, true, 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 right? Yes, true. And actually I made a mistake for the second line over here. It should have been, for the second line, it should have been not Q is true, but then Q implies P is false, right? So if the antecedent is true and the consequent is false, this then becomes false. Yeah, let me see if I made any other mistakes. No. So that's it for item C. Now let's to do item D, we do have to construct this auxiliary statement. Let me just put a little check mark in C. So for let's do P or Q, right? So we're doing the disjunction of the first and second column. So we have true or true is true, true or false, true, false or true, true, and lastly false or false, false. So now we're ready to do item D, which is a conditional statement where the antecedent is this column that we just built, and the consequent is, let's see, the consequent is this column over here because Q and P is the same thing as P and Q. So let's do that. So when we have if true, then that is true for the first one. If true, then false. This is false because now our promise is broken. If true, then false. So once more, we do have false here. And then if false and false, then that is true because both of them have the same truth values, right? So we constructed D. Let's see, let's put a little check mark here. Oops, that is not what I meant to do. So we constructed D, and we're missing just E. I didn't do F for this one because it would just be too long. So for this one, I went ahead and I put in the truth values for P, Q, and R. And now we have to construct these auxiliary statements so that we can build E, which is a very long statement, right? So we're going to do here P and Q. So the conjunction of the first and the second column. So that is true, 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 false is false. So for every of these, we're going to have a false somewhere. So we can just go ahead and put false for all of these since the conjunction is always false whenever one of the variables are false. Let's do Q and R. So we're doing the conjunction of the second and the third column, right? So we have true here, true or false, true and false, sorry, false, false, true, false, 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 true, and then everything else has a false somewhere, so we're just going to put false. Now we are going to do, let's see, we are going to do the disjunction of this one with this one, right? Yeah, we're going to do a disjunction. So this is, let's see, true, true, which is true, true and false, true, false or false, false, false or false, false, false or true, true, false or false, 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 false. Okay. And now we're doing P or R. So we are doing the disjunction of the first and the third column. So for the first and the third column, this disjunction will be true, true, because we have, so whenever we have true in at least one of them, we'll put in as true, so that's for P. And now let's examine for R. So then we have true, we have false, true, false. Okay. Now we are ready to plug all of these into E. So for E, we do have a conditional statement, okay? And our conditional statement is, we're taking this column, that's our antecedent, and then we are taking this column where that is our consequent. So we're saying if P and Q or P and R, then P or R. So let us do this conditional statement. So if true, then true, then that is true. If true, then true, true. If false, then true, that will be true, because if the antecedent is false, the conditional is true. If false, then true, same thing. True, then true, also true. Once more, we have and for the last three, we have a false antecedent. So all of these are true. And as we've seen, item E rather, is a tautology. It is true for all cases. So let me just zoom that in, put a little check mark here, and let you guys kind of look at it.